In the vast wind-swept steppe of 1223, where the grass bowed like supplicants before the thunder of hooves, two of the greatest generals in history, Subutai, the stoic strategist known as the Dog of War, and Jebe, the Arrow, whose name struck fear into empires, led 20,000 Mongol riders on a reconnaissance in force that would become a legend of annihilation, a 9-day hunt across the Eurasian plain that lured 80,000 Rus's princes and their heavily armored knights into a trap as old as the nomads themselves, culminating on the banks of the Kalka River in a single afternoon of slaughter that shattered Kievan Rus, opened Eastern Europe to the Golden Horde, and proved that no fortress, no cavalry charge, no coalition of Slavic pride could withstand the disciplined fury of the steppe wolf when it feigned retreat and struck with encirclement. The campaign began not as conquest, but as pursuit. 3 years earlier, Genghis Khan had crushed the Khwarezmian Empire in a storm of fire and blood. And as his 2 men swept westward, Subutai and Jebe, granted a rare independent command, were sent with 2 Cumans, 20,000 light horse archers, to scout the western frontiers, map the terrain, and test the mettle of the unknown peoples beyond the Caspian. They crossed the Caucasus in winter, defeated the Alans and Circassians in lightning raids, and emerged onto the Pontic steppe like black clouds before a storm. Word of their coming reached the Rus' principalities, Kiev, Chernigov, Galicia, Smolensk, where proud princes, each ruling his own walled city and golden-domed church, gathered in council at Kiev under Mstislav the Bold of Galicia. "Barbarians from the east," the scouts reported, "horse archers who fight without honor, who flee and return, who live in saddles and drink mare's milk," the princes laughed. They had crushed Pechenegs, Cumans, and Polovtsians before. They would do so again. 80,000 warriors assembled, knights in chain mail and scale, lances gleaming, banners of saints and lions fluttering above squadrons of heavy cavalry, boyars in fur-trimmed cloaks, foot soldiers with kite shields and battle axes, and 20,000 Cuman allies under Khan Khotan, steppe riders themselves, but no match for the Mongols in discipline or cohesion. Mstislav the Bold took over all command, his brother-in-law Mstislav of Chernigov at his side, and young Prince Danil of Volhynia riding with the vanguard. They crossed the Dnieper in May, marching east with supply trains groaning under rye bread, salted pork, and barrels of kvass, confident that their numbers alone would crush the Tatar devils. Subutai and Jebe, far from home, low on arrows, and outnumbered 4-1, did not meet them in open battle. They retreated. For 9 days, the Mongols fled eastward, burning grass behind them to deny forage, abandoning captured livestock, even leaving behind wounded comrades as bait. The Rus pursued with growing arrogance. "They run like rabbits," shouted Mstislav of Kiev. The Cumans, more cautious, urged restraint. This is how the steppe kills, but were overruled. Each day the Mongol rearguard appeared on the horizon, loosed a volley of arrows, then vanished. Each night, Rus's campfires lit the plain like a city of stars, while Mongol scouts counted tents, noted banners, and reported to Subutai, who rode with a map of goat skin and a mind like a wolf trap. On the 8th day, the Mongols crossed the Kalka River, a shallow reed-fringed stream winding through gentle hills, and disappeared into the haze. The Russes cheered. Victory was at hand. They camped on the western bank, disorganized, drunk on confidence and vodka. The Cumans pitched tents upstream, the Galicians downstream, the Kievan and Chernigov forces in the center. No palisade, no sentries beyond the picket line. Mstislav the Bold feasted in his pavilion, toasting the coming triumph. At dawn on the 9th day, the earth trembled, not with quake, but with the synchronized gallop of 20,000 Mongol horses, split into 3 divisions, Jebe on the left, Subutai on the right, and a third under their Lieutenant Chormagan in reserve. They had not fled. They had looped north under cover of darkness, forded the Kalka upstream, and now charged from 3 directions in the classic tulughma encirclement. The first arrows fell like black rain. Mongol composite bows, laminated with horn and sinew, outranged Rus's crossbows by 100 yards. The front rank loosed, wheeled, and the second rank fired through the gap, 10 arrows per minute per rider. Cuman horses screamed as shafts punched through leather barding. Prince Danil's vanguard, still mounting, was shredded before forming ranks. The Mongols did not charge home. They galloped parallel to the Rus's line, 200 yards out, shooting, retreating, shooting again. The feigned retreat perfected over generations on the Mongolian plateau. The Rus's knights, enraged, spurred forward. Mstislav the Bold led the Galician heavy cavalry in a thundering charge, lances lowered, earth shaking beneath iron-shod hooves. The Mongols scattered like chaff before the wind. For 3 miles, the chase continued. The Rus laughed as Mongol riders fell from saddles, trampled under hoof. They did not see Subutai's right wing swinging wide, nor Jebe's left curling behind the hills. They did not see the third two men waiting beyond the ridge. When the Galicians crested a low rise, panting, horses lathered, they found themselves in a natural bowl, hemmed by reeds and the Kalka bend. And then the trap closed. From three sides, the Mongols converged. Arrows fell in sheets. Rus's knights raised shields, but the Mongol shafts punched through oaken mail. Horses reared, screaming. The Galician charge stalled. Mstislav of Chernigov arrived with his squadron, only to find his brother-in-law surrounded. The Cumans, seeing the tide turn, broke and fled west, trampling their own infantry. In panic, Subutai's heavy lancers, armored in lamella, wielding maces and sabers, now charged home, smashing into the Rus's flank. Jebe's riders dismounted, using captured lances as pikes to hold the center. The bowl became a killing ground. Hand-to-hand combat erupted. Rus's axes cleaved Mongol helmets. Mongol sabers severed limbs. Prince Danil fought like a lion, his sword a blur, until an arrow took his horse and he fell beneath a pile of bodies. Mstislav the Bold, unhorsed, shield splintered, roared defiance as Mongol lancers surrounded him. One by one, the Rus's banners fell. The Kievan contingent, arriving late, charged into the melee and was enveloped. By noon, the battle was a rout. The Mongols drove the survivors into the Kalka, where thousands drowned under the weight of their own armor. Others were ridden down in the reeds, trampled into mud. The aftermath was ritual. Subutai and Jebe, ever practical, spared 1,000 prisoners, mostly Cumans, to spread terror. The Rus's princes were not so lucky. Mstislav the Bold, Mstislav of Chernigov, and 6 other high nobles were captured alive. The Mongols feasted that night on captured kvass and horseflesh. Then, in a gesture of calculated humiliation, they laid the princes beneath a wooden platform, sat upon it, and ate, drank, and sang, while the men who had ruled half of Europe suffocated slowly under the weight of their conqueror's victory. Their bodies were left for the crows. Of the 80,000 Ruses who marched to the Kalka, fewer than 10,000 returned. Entire princely lines were extinguished. Kiev's power was broken. The Cumans fled west, begging asylum in Hungary. Subutai and Jebe, their mission complete, turned south, raided the Volga Bulgars, and vanished into the steppe, leaving behind a trail of burned villages and a warning etched in blood. The Mongols were coming. The Battle of the Kalka River was not the invasion, it was the prelude. 13 years later, Batu Khan would return with 150,000 riders and finish what Subutai began. But in 1253, on a quiet riverbank in late spring, the fate of Eastern Europe was sealed in a single afternoon of arrows, encirclement, and the cold genius of 2 generals who turned retreat into annihilation. The Rus's princes learned too late what the Khwarezmians had discovered before them. Against the Mongol Tumen, pride was a death sentence, and the steppe itself was the deadliest weapon of all.